me a question? Because if you were asking me if I liked what you were playing, then the answer is yes. You know, this is a much better way of communicating for you. It's far less confusing than the way you normally speak.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are veteran Trekkies, and Dory is a newly minted full Trekkie, and we are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek: The Next Generation. Today we're discussing the Season 7 episode, Thine Own Self. Original air date is February 12th, 1994, and as always we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay, so we start out, Dr. C is doing the officer log. How exciting. Okay, so the Enterprise have rendezvous with Troy's shuttlecraft. She returned from class reunion on Starbase 231. Troy enters the bridge, expecting to just see Data, but Dr. C is in the captain's chair. We learn that Data is away on assignment. The Federation deep space probe went off course and crashed on Barkun 4. Some of the material in the casing was radioactive, so Data was sent to recover it before it could contaminate the biosphere. So we do also, important to note, is that Barkun 4 is inhabited with pre-industrial society. But the probe landed, or crashed rather, over 100 kilometers from the nearest settlement, so Data shouldn't have any contact with the Barkanians. So Troy's like, oh, it's like kind of unusual to see you in the captain's chair. But Dr. C's like, well, I actually volunteered. I want to keep up to date with ops and tactical stuff. Also, she likes being in charge of the Enterprise. I love that. For her. And Troy asks Dr. C why she got the commander rank, as it's not like necessary as the chief medical officer. And Dr. C's like, honestly, didn't even think about rank. Seemed trivial compared to being a doctor. Burn. But 8 years ago, what else happened 8 years ago? She was like, what if I expanded my horizons? And so they mentioned Dr. C is trying to send Data schedule updates, but no response, because she needed to let Data know that there's going to be a delay in picking him up because they have to rendezvous with the Lexington and take some medical supplies to another colony, etc., etc. Okay, so but Geordi said radiation. There's like there's reasons why they might not be getting his messages. They're not thinking much about it. They're like, it's fine. Okay, so
yeah, it's not setting off any alarm bells yet.
Yeah, they're like, this is not that crazy. It's fine. So on the planet, we have a little village that it kind of like read as like kind of 15th century for me. But like
that's what they're
asterisks though, because obviously it's not going to be exactly, but the kind of clothes, that's what the vibe was.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like medieval.
Oh, medieval is way different. That's earlier.
Yeah.
No, like medieval small town, not medieval castle.
That's earlier.
Yeah, but the time
like,
period is more, I think, like closer to Renaissance or something.
Yeah, it's yeah. Initially, I was like, is that Renaissance? But then once I kind of like stared at the guy's like outfit for a bit, I was like, that's not Renaissance. So it's just kind of before-ish, or like early. I'm not great with my eras. Okay, so we learn this is the magistrate and his daughter, and they're having a conversation, and then they spot Data coming down these stairs in the middle of this like sort of town square, and he looks really disheveled. And so the magistrate sends his daughter away, but she does not hide very well. She just is like, I'm gonna crouch down over here behind a wheel or something. And he goes over to confront Data, and so he starts asking Data questions, but all Data can do is just echo. He just is like repeating him. That's it. And so then we learn this guy, the magistrate, he goes, my name is Garvin. And then Data goes, my name is Garvin. So we learned this is Garvin. Garvin.
Yeah. Because
We learned Data as Garvin.
yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
Data is
Yeah.
messed up.
Yeah,
It's
Data
like-
looks rough.
Honestly, his voice sounds super fucking cool in this, and all I
Yeah.
can think of is I want to remix it.
But Data has amnesia. Data's got like memory loss, doesn't remember anything. I did note that Garwin kind of looks like Craig Ferguson, like adjacent, if that makes sense. He just kind of made me think of
yeah,
like,
he's
he kind of
reminiscent.
resembles. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't like literally look like
Yeah.
him, but like the elements are there.
Yeah, it's adjacent. That's why I like.
Yeah.
So Data, oh yeah, Garvin's like, hey, you look like shit. What happened? And Data's like, I don't fucking know, but I walked from the mountains. But he doesn't remember anything before his walk, but he does remember the walk. So then Garvin is like, oh, maybe that big container you're carrying can help us. What do these markers mean? And they're like, oh, Data can read it. And it says radioactive. Because if you recall earlier, Data went down to the planet to get these radioactive pieces. And the second they're like, hey, what's this? Oh, cool. I don't know. I'm like, oh my fucking God. I know exactly what's going to happen in this episode. And I am upset.
Yeah.
So they're like, maybe radioactive is your name. But then Garvin opens the radioactive container and pulls out a piece of the probe and the metal, and I just wrote no with like 6 O's. And then we cut back to the Enterprise, and Riker is playing the bone in his quarters, and Troy
Riker's
comes
boning.
in. Yeah.
And a bone for
And-
me.
Yeah. A bone for everyone. Hee hee. So Troy comes in and she sits down on the couch and he plays like a few notes and she goes, is that supposed to be a question? And then he makes like another note. And then she says, because if you were asking me if I liked what you were playing, then the answer is yes. And then he blows another note. And then she says, this is a much better way of communicating for you. It's far less confusing than the way you normally speak. And then the captioning said, plays harsh note. Then Riker said, I knew I could count on my Imzadi, the ship's counselor, to boost my self-image. And then Troy says, I'm glad to be of service. And then Riker says, did you come here for something in particular? Or just general Riker bashing? So Troy actually did go see Riker for a reason. She wants his opinion on, she's considering taking the bridge officer's test to become a full commander. And there's like a bunch of things here and there that have sort of inspired her recently, like the peer reviews they just did, Dr. C, class reunion. But Troy does say she's been thinking about this for the past 2 years, in which, because we'll talk about this later, I really wish there was more build up to this. I would have liked this to be drawn out more, honestly. This felt very like, where did it come from? Where did it go? Where did it come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Yeah, it just felt kind of rushed. Anyways, I do love this for Troy. I do support her wanting to, expand past her, I guess not past, but just open a different option.
They actually
just like
on the ship, which I love that for her. Just expanding horizons.
They actually planned to bring this up in a previous episode, but it got shelved for time. They didn't feel like they could do a good use of it in this episode, or sorry, in that particular episode. So they pushed it, and Ronald D. Moore brought it out for this one and said, "No, we have to do this. Like this is a story idea that we like, that we feel passionate about." They were actually going to do it at the beginning of the season.
Oh, see, I wish that they did plant some, seeds with this earlier. It honestly would have been more effective. She also, she mentioned I do remember the episode. I don't remember what happened, but I do remember this episode she refers to from when she ended up being captain, because she just happened to be the most senior officer on the bridge during this disaster. And she was like, it was like very overwhelming at first, but she found that she kind of missed being in command. She liked it. So Riker's like, Riker gives his full support if she decides to do the test. And we do learn that he actually would be the as number one, he would be doing the judging. And he's like, we start tomorrow at 8. So like, good luck, Troy. I'm rooting for you. Okay, so back on the planet, we have the village like physician whose name is Talar. And she says that Data has, quote, a remarkable set of teeth. They basically are kind of like, I wouldn't say roasting Data, but they just keep being like, okay, let's come up with a reason for why he looks this way or what these different qualities are. Oh, he's so pale, he's so cold, he's so clammy, he's got these like interesting colored eyes. And I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And so then Talar says, I'm sure my grandmother would have called our friend here a demon or a spirit or something, or some sort of monster. But current scientific methodology allows us to dismiss such ridiculous superstitions and concentrate on scientific reality. So then Data says, then what do you believe I am? And then she goes, you are an Iceman.
Yeah, I love that moment of the episode.
To be fair, the episode does call back to this whole thought several times that like the scientific analysis approach that they're doing is obviously not, well, it's primitive. It's akin to like, you know, magic and spirits and stuff still, but they're still talking up their own superiority about it.
Yeah. And it's obviously like she is, you know, even though they've gotten it wrong, she is obviously like a lot more logical and like not as reactionary as most people, because like even though her science isn't correct, she is still a scientist, and like there are logical, like I'll get into it more later, but like there are logical, like her, I can see how she came to certain conclusions.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Right? It's not like totally off. Like it's very silly to say like you are an Iceman. But it makes sense to sort of her reasoning of like, well, you look different, so you're probably from like just a different part of the world, right? Like she's like, obviously if you grow up somewhere different, you might look different. And like her conclusions are, they seem wrong and silly, but it's like that's sort of how scientific reasoning and stuff starts.
Yeah, no,
right? Like
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Actually,
they just haven't, the mechanism of their logic, like how she's thinking, is correct, even though the conclusions aren't.
So, I don't want to get into too much yet, because you said that you have more to say on it later, but just as a minor interjection to that, the thing that really changed science was the scientific method. And she's not applying that, obviously. She's applying more of a philosophy to it. But if you look at scientists prior to the scientific method, so like Sir Isaac Newton, for instance, he didn't call himself a scientist. Nobody did back then. He called himself a world philosopher, because he was thinking about things. And like this is just how the concept of the entire approach to science developed. So I definitely agree.
Yeah. Well, religion, that's what it originally was. Like it was religion developed in order to try to explain like our experiences and our world and why certain things happened.
Yep.
And then you know, that's like, religion is the original science, because it was just people trying, religion and philosophy, it's just people trying to explain our world and our universe, right? And then like you eventually get to a point where it's like, oh, okay, like there's more concrete answers to this and stuff, and it becomes less about stories and legend, and it's like, oh, like concrete evidence and, you know, that sort of thing. And then that's where science and religion and philosophy diverge. Yes. That's where they start to diverge.
Actually, that's interesting. I didn't know that these scientists called themselves philosophers.
They did, yeah. Yeah.
That's well. That's very
The
cool. I
concept
didn't know that.
of a scientist didn't exist yet because we didn't have like the scientific method, so it was philosophizing about things.
That's
Yeah.
neat. I never thought about it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's why religious institutions like are so invested in that in terms of like, you know, why they don't like, you know, certain things, because it messes up with doctrine, messes up with like your, it's I mean, I don't know how it was before, but like historically it's like this is how things are and that's it. Whereas like, you know, the scientific method and stuff, like, and I don't want to dismiss that like other cultures probably had like, I just don't want to be like, you know, Eurocentric white supremacists with it, that I'm open that there's other methods that would get like the same truths. But that's what I have right now.
Yeah.
The scientific method, it's like, it's very malleable because the whole thing is that like you are willing to change what you believe about the world based on the evidence, where it's like more, yeah, the main difference of like where we are today with like science and religion is like science is looking for the truth, whereas like religion, you start with a truth
Yes.
and like and like look to prove, and not necessarily even prove, it's like
Look to
you're like,
explain.
yeah, look to explain, but you're sort of concrete, you like, you already know what is true.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas like scientific method is like, and science in general is like, okay, we're looking for what is true, and like what we believe now might not actually be true. So yeah, that's also why like religion and science like clash.
Yep.
Okay, so I think Teller leaves, and Garvin and Gia, his daughter, are trying to come up with a name for Data. So they're like, oh, how about, Garvin's like, how about Radioactive? How about Mr. Radioactive? And then Gia's like, how about Jaden?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I didn't even know Jaden was a name in the 90s. It seems like such a modern...
It actually wasn't.
So did...
Like, prior to this episode, it was very uncommon. So, like, I'm not saying that it's related to it, but within, like, a year or two of this episode coming out, the name began to get very popular. And by, I think, like, 2010 or something like that, it was one of the most popular names in the West.
That's hilarious.
It's like, yeah, because I know in, like,
Yeah.
it's popular in the 2000s, but I was like, this is 94.
I know.
This is wild.
Well, that
So-
means people who like were watching this episode later had kids and then were like, oh, Jaden.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's
Wow.
happened before too. There was, I wish I could remember what name it was, but there was a name that like basically did not exist like prior to like some movie or something, and then people started naming their kids it.
Oh, wild.
Yeah. And this is only tangentially related, but there's a thing known as the Tiffany problem.
Oh, yes, I'm familiar with this. Same thing with,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Jessica.
Yeah, so for our audience, it's like, basically the Tiffany problem is like when you give a character a name, like from a certain like past time period, and it just sounds too modern, even though the name did literally exist during that time period. Like the name Tiffany. Like the name Tiffany is much older than people expect.
Mm-hmm.
But like
And
if you named a character like in an older time period, Tiffany, it would be weird. Like modern audiences would find it weird.
Mm-hmm. It's same with the name Jessica, because that was in a Shakespeare play, Merchant of Venice. There's a character named Jessica.
Maybe
that's
that's what I was
also-
thinking of. Maybe I was
No,
thinking
no,
of Jessica.
Tiffany. No, Tiffany is right also.
Oh yeah,
think-
yeah. But
I
I,
think
meant
Tiffany-
earlier when I was thinking of
maybe
a
that.
name that didn't exist before, like a piece of media.
Oh, I have no idea if Shakespeare made up the name Jessica. That I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I just was like so focused on that they named him Jaden. I refused to call him Jaden this episode. He's just Data. I don't care that I can't call him Jaden. So then Garvin opens up the radioactive container again, and I just like it's so bad every time they
Yeah.
open the container. I'm like, these people are getting poisoned.
Yeah. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable.
It
And
was
like,
so bad. It
yeah.
was so, I was like screaming.
Yeah, because
So,
you're just cringing like every time. You're like, no.
yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah.
So they take the pieces of metal from the container to this guy, Scaran, and yeah, they just keep calling Data Jaden, and I can't. It's so bizarre. So Data is willing to sell some of the fragments, so he has some money in this world. It's important to say they agreed on 20 Dorax, which is their form of currency for the metal. Then then there's a guy next to them when they're dealing this stuff, and he's hitting some kind of tool on an anvil, and then the bottom of the anvil kind of collapses on this guy's foot, and he is screaming. It must like hurt like a bitch. And so like a bunch of guys try to pull it out, but it's too heavy. Data just goes, lifts it up like it's nothing. The funny thing is when he put it down, it did kind of sound like cardboard. It made kind of like a little
It
noise.
sure did.
And yeah, so everyone is like shocked. And they kind of just they form kind of a crowd kind of forms around
The
them.
way that
and
he's
it's
told
just
to put it
wild.
down, I feel seems a little bit like, don't threaten us with that. Like they're afraid of him for a moment.
Yeah. I found this weird, and it's like,
It's just the delivery is a little odd.
I don't doubt that this could happen, because like when he lifts the thing, like people are immediately fearful of him. Whereas like, and maybe this is just the person I am, I would be like, whoa, that's awesome, dude, thanks for the help.
Yeah,
like,
that could be. It could be just. I mean, it's already shown that this is like a heavily superstitious people, so there is that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess there are people. I mean, I can think of some people in modern days that would immediately turn on someone who was trying to help them.
Yep.
Yeah. So when he does put it down, he asks Garvin if he did something wrong based on everyone else's reaction. Garvin's like, no, just surprising. And I'm like, that makes sense. Everyone else's reaction is a little like I was literally waiting for someone to point at Data and be like, which? But it didn't. No one did. So Talor is back to have dinner with everyone, and she's just kind of going on. She's really pulling stuff out of her ass, but I'll allow it, I guess. About like, oh, Data, you probably are super strong because you have to fight the ferocious creatures that live in the mountains. And Data's like, oh, but you said no one from the village has been to the mountains. And how do you know there's like creatures out there? And Tyler's like, oh, it's a fact. But Data's like, okay, but no one has actually seen one. And she's like, no, not to my knowledge. And then I wrote, thine pwn self. Which was really stupid. But I wrote burn also. It was very dumb, but that's all I could think about when I first saw the title of this episode.
Yeah.
So Garvin, he is not feeling great. And then obviously it's like radiation poisoning. So I just wrote, no, not radiation poisoning, Data. And I was like, I hope Dr. C can do something about this. And like, I don't want Garvin to die. He's been perfectly nice. He like took Data in, wants to help him. And now he's gonna fucking die. I'm like, is this a metaphor? Is this supposed to be like bad things still happen to good people? Or is this supposed to be like no good deed goes unpunished? I'm like, is there a lesson we're supposed to take from this? Or this is just, but this is in the middle of the episode when I was coming up with all those ideas. That's not what, I'm assuming that's not what they were going for. So Gia the daughter tells Data that Garen is doing his best. Oh, because they make food. Data doesn't eat it because Data doesn't eat it. And she's like, oh, because it's not very good. And he's like, oh, no, I just don't eat. And she's like, well, my dad's doing his best. Like, Mom was the better cook. She died a year ago. And Garvin told Gia that her mother went to a peaceful place where everyone loves each other and no one gets sick. And she's like, Data, do you believe such a place exists? And I said no, but Data looks very dramatically out the window and go to a random moon and goes, yes. I'm like, all right, Data, we'll take your side on that.
The place that he's thinking about is home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, people get sick on the Enterprise, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But of like a lot less than, you know, a Renaissance era.
Yeah.
This is true, yeah.
Yeah, but I think also, like, at this point, Data still had no memory, so I don't think he's not thinking of the Enterprise. I think he's just trying to be optimistic, I guess. So back on the Enterprise. Okay. So with this scene, it took me a minute to figure out what was happening, because I actually started writing what the, like, was happening, and it's like so I wrote, on Enterprise, they lost contact with everything above Deck 21, including the bridge. So Worf and Troy are in engineering helping out. Again, because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't understand what was going on yet. Worf says there's something wrong with this antimatter containment unit. Magnetic field is starting to fluctuate. Troy says to switch to auxiliary control. And then Worf says auxiliary control is not online. And then I realized, just realized this is for Troy's test. Mm-hmm. And every decision Troy makes, just something keeps going wrong over and over again. But she just keeps coming up with new things. Ultimately, though, in her test, the Enterprise does explode. So, unfortunately, she has failed the engineering qualification, which apparently is the toughest part of the test. She's already passed the diplomatic law, first contact procedure, and bridge operations. But this is the struggle. So Troy asks Riker what she did wrong, but Riker refuses to tell her, and this really bothers her. And he suggests studying up on emergency procedures. And she says, well, how do I know what to study if you won't tell me what I did wrong? And Riker says, I don't know. I'm afraid I can't tell you that either. So yeah, everyone's pissed. So back on the planet, Talor, we learn, also is school teacher. She's a busy
small
woman.
Town.
Yeah, she's multitasking, and she tells everyone that rock, fire, sky, and water are all the basic elements of the universe, and that is in
magnets,
everything.
how do they work?
Truly, truly. And then she goes, if we expose the wood to flame, we can encourage the flame within the wood to show itself. And then she also mentions the water in the wood is difficult to see. And she just stares like, yep, the four elements there and everything. But Data is like, actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. Because
Yeah.
And he just lists off a bunch of like facts of like, yeah, there's particles, this. And Taylor is like, everyone, just, it's okay. Don't listen to Data. He lost his memory. He obviously doesn't know what he's talking about. So don't worry about it.
So this is the part where I had like a little bit more to say about like her science stuff.
Oh, okay.
So like she's obviously wrong the way she's telling it, but not entirely, because wood does contain water. There are water molecules in wood, and I mean, it doesn't contain rock, but a lot of the same like elements and minerals like can be shared between wood and certain types of rocks and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
a lot of things like have the same like minerals and elements and stuff like through all different substances.
Yeah.
So it's like the way she's explaining it and the way they understand it is wrong, but there are elements of truth to it where it shows that like, you know, they're like, this society is like, or at least her science stuff is like on the way to the correct conclusion. Mm-hmm. But
I feel like this is a good example of let her cook.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, if I was if it was me, I would still correct her. But
Oh, for sure.
yeah, but it's like there is like a little sprinkle of truth to what she's saying, which I find is like very interesting.
Yeah, like she's on her way, but not quite there yet. So then Skoran shows up. No, they go see him. I don't know. They're somewhere. They're like, oh, you didn't.
Yeah.
He was supposed to pay them 20 Dorax for the medal, but then he only gives 15. There's like, Garvin goes to confront him, but then he gets like kind of weak and woozy, and then we notice there's like red blotches on his face, and he's got a fever, and his hair is falling out now. So Talor is like, they bring him back home, and she's like, oh, his body's just like really hot. That's why he's got burns, because he's burning from the inside out. We need to just keep him cool. But Data is like, I want to do my own investigation into this. And Talor's like, yeah, okay, sure, go for it. So Data and Gia go into the village for supplies, but the townspeople are they got their pitchforks. They're ready to go. And they're all experiencing symptoms now. And they blame Data because it started when he arrived. And Data's like, Gia, I think we should leave. And okay, I wrote a really stupid comment. I'm gonna read it because why the fuck not? I wrote Data's like, we should leave, and then everyone sings the chorus of JoJo's biggest hit from the early 2000s. If the song's called goes Leave, Get Out. It's really dumb. And now Gia is experiencing symptoms now. And so Data is like, okay, gotta work. Not that he wasn't working super extra hard before, but like Gia's his bud. Gia's great. And so then, Teller had like a magnifying glass, but Data's like, I could suggest some like things to make it better. And she's like, give me the fucking magnifying glass. Leave me alone.
Yeah, yeah.
So he makes a kind of souped up version with a bajillion levels. It looks really cool. And it's, I think, 500 times magnification, which is cool. And
also, as somebody who works with cameras and whatnot, yeah, that wouldn't work.
No.
It's the right idea, but it would not, like, the magnification would actually just be useless in the end.
Interesting.
There's a lot of like aberration and whatnot that would be really blown out of proportion by that, and basically what you would see would be completely out of focus.
Yeah, yeah. It would take like because you can do more lenses, more zoom, but you can only do it so much. And
well, it's not that, it's you need corrector lenses as well, so that's concave and convex lenses. So
yeah. Well,
so
maybe maybe that's, we can't see what all the lenses are doing. Like maybe there are
I
some...
can see there's no convex lenses, or sorry, no
yeah.
concave lenses.
Well, who's gonna tell Data that his
Yeah.
experiment is wrong?
Yeah.
So Data then explains his research and theories with Talor, and she's like, yeah, this all seems to still be linked to you. And then he realizes that Gia is wearing, she's like super sick, and realizes that she's wearing this particular pendant, but it's one of the metal pieces that were super radioactive. And he's like starting to, that lady, the meme with like when all the numbers are kind of going in front of her head, it's slowly coming together for him.
Oh yeah. Where it's like someone like trying to think and all the formulas are floating.
Yeah.
He went into his mind palace.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. So back on the Enterprise, Troy is studying for the test for the engineering qualification again, and Riker comes in to see her to tell her that he's actually canceling the rest of the test. And she's taken the engineer qualification 3 times and failed, doesn't think that she's any closer to passing. And I thought this was part of the test. I thought that he was going to be about like, oh, her perseverance, that she's refusing to give up. But he's like, no, actually, I don't think this is going to really work. And he
Yeah.
says to her, Deanna, this is nothing personal. Everyone is cut out to be a bridge officer. I don't think this is for you. And she goes, why? Because I'm not the most technically minded person on the ship. I may have trouble telling the difference between a plasma conduit and a phase inducer, but there's more to being a bridge officer than memorizing technical manuals. And then Riker's like, that's right, there is. You could spend, oh, okay, yeah, spend. I was like, spread. You could spend the next, I'm assuming I meant to write month, but I just wrote MONT. I'm going to assume I meant month.
Yeah, he just means a long time. You could spend a
I could
significant
spend the
amount
next
of time.
month, memorizing all the technical manuals in the computer. I still don't think you'd pass the test. So Troy goes, tell me one thing. Is there a solution, or is this simply a test of my ability to handle a no-win situation? And Riker says, there is a solution. And Troy says, then give me time to find it. Riker goes, I can't. As much as I care about you, my first duty is to the ship. I cannot let any bridge officer serve who's not qualified. I'm sorry. And then Troy stares so he leaves, and Troy stares very hard at this panel. And then to herself, she goes, my first duty is to the ship. The ship. And then she runs out of the room, and something has definitely clicked in for her. And she goes to the holodeck and tells the computer to load Bridge Officer's Test, Engineering Qualifications, Section 1. And I do love that, like, Worf and Geordi are just, like, part of this test. Like, they're part of the holodeck in this. It's kind of...
Well, yeah, otherwise they wouldn't be in the episode.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So Troy asks, we'll say test Geordi, if he can repair this specific conduit piece, even though the passage to get there is filled with radiation. And he says yes. So she tells him to do it. And it's an order. And so basically she's sacrificing Geordi to save the ship. And so Troy looks, honestly, for like the wide shot, she looks kind of like, oh, fuck me. And he leaves the room and like enters, wants to go off to his death, I guess. And I knew this was a simulation, but I got teared up thinking of like Geordi going to his death. And truly, like he wouldn't be saying goodbye to anybody. He just would be like, all right, I guess bye. Not even bye, just off to his death. I'm like, that's actually so sad. And then, okay, so then Riker walks in and he's like, something told me you wouldn't let this go. Congratulations, you passed. And so then Troy says, that's what this was all about, wasn't it? To see if I would order someone to their death. And Riker says, that's right. And then Troy says, I knew it was part of being in command, and I thought I'd prepared for it when the moment came. I hesitated. Maybe you were right. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. And then Riker says, you did exactly what you had to do. You considered all your options. You tried every alternative, and then you made the hard choice. Come on, let's go out. Let's go out of here. Sure. Let's go out of here, Commander. Yeah, I'll come back to this after. So, okay, back on the planet, Data has coded... He doesn't experiment with this cloth. It's not... I don't need to explain it. It's like a cloth and frame of wood and stuff. And he's like Bill Nyeing over here doing all this experiments and whatever. And he figures out, oh, the radioactive container blocks this, energy from the pendant. Good job, Data. You're nailing it. But he's still working on his experiments. He tasks Talor to collect all the metal that originally came from the container from the village to put it back in the container. Then we get a knock at the door. It's Goran and a guy with a pickaxe. And they're like, you caused all this illness. And Data's like, you're actually kind of right. But before he can say, like, it's actually kind of the metal, Scoron takes a swing, but he misses. And Data then kind of pushes him lightly. But when I say pushes him lightly, he, like, goes flying into a wall. And then Pickaxe hits Data in the face with said pickaxe. And revealing his wiring and that he's not human. Oh, and I just wrote Data has Christmas lights on his face. It's kind of nice, like twinkling colored lights.
It's very like I know they do it for the like just the to make it more visual, but it is very silly that he has all these lights blinking
Yeah,
on the
It really
inside.
does, yeah.
Yeah.
I never liked that entire idea.
Yeah. And Data's skin is supposed to be like it's not perfect, but it is supposed to be human-like, and human skin and like skin is transparent.
Yeah.
So you would see the light
Lights.
floating.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we go to Garvin, who looks like shit. His hair is falling out. He is just absolutely in horrible, horrible shape. It's actually, it's pretty bad. And other villagers continue to blame Data, say that he's a creature. But Garvin, like, even though he's in such bad shape, he's still, I wrote, he continues to stand up figuratively for Data.
Yeah.
Because he is on the couch. He cannot get up right now. So Gia goes to... Data's not there also, by the way, in that room at this point. But Gia goes to take a look at Data's experiments, and you just see him kind of like a little creep in the hallway with a little hood up. And she's like, can you remove the hood? And he's like, sure, okay, fine. And she's like, honestly, she looks shook, but she doesn't like scream, run away, whatever. She kind of plays with the chair a bit, and I think as like a kid, that's kind of a smart like acting response.
Yeah.
To like not know what to do with it. I thought this kid was great.
Actress did a good job. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she was really good. So then Data explains to her that he doesn't mean any harm and he's working on a cure, but he needs time. But then we actually have no idea how much time passes, because he's like, I need time. And literally the next scene, he's like, the
time that he needs
on
is
the
like
couch,
20
she's
minutes
literally...
or something.
Truly, yeah. He literally, it just cuts to her being on like a couch, like she's in really, really bad shape. And he's like, Gia, I got a cure. I gave it to your dad already. Here, take it. I'm like, how much time did you need, Data? Like, truly, as you said, Jeff, like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Garvin is good. He's recovering. He gives Gia the medicine, and she's like, we got to get this to everyone in the village. And his kind of only option, because obviously he's not going to be able to be like, hey, villagers, please drink for this stuff for me, is the well. So he goes to the town square. He opens the well, and
he takes a sweet ass time.
So long. I timed it 6 seconds from when they say he's there, he is, to when Scorin stops in front of Data. It's 6 fucking seconds. Data had the time. Like, he literally was like about to dump the medicine into the water, but he turned around and waited for 6 seconds for everyone to gather around. And I'm like, you had the time. It wasn't like a huge full bucket of medicine. It just, like, you had the time, and he did not do it. And then Data, so they get in a bit of a back and forth. And then they're like, you're bad. And then Data finally chooses that moment to turn around, even though he had the time to do it before, turns around and then dumps the cure into the well. So Scorin yells and... So then Scorin then stabs Data in the back, like through his body, with a huge ass metal spear. And when he does that, it kind of sends like a electrical current through like him and Data, and Data's like out. They just are like, well, Data's dead, I guess. Well, I guess they're like, Jaden's dead, I guess. Talar shows up. I think she... Oh, okay. I think I made a mistake in my notes. But she shows up to when Data's on the ground, and she's like, oh no, this is not good. Yeah. And then we cut through, I guess, another time jump, probably another 20 minutes. Jesus. No, probably like the next day. Gia's walking through the town. Everyone is healed and doing fine. And then we see Dr. C and Riker go up to Gia, and they're like, hey, little girl, have you seen our friend? And I'm like, okay. At first, I was like, why are they talking to a child? This is peak creepiness. But then I thought about it, and I was like, okay, because a child is not going to necessarily lie to you. So I guess, in a way, a child might be actually a good option in this particular scenario. But it is kind of like at the same time, I feel like because it is like I don't know.
Yeah.
You're
like,
right,
I get
it is an odd choice.
It is just like, of all the people there, like ask an adult first.
Yeah.
And then if they're not willing to say anything or being weird, then maybe, I don't know. I feel like there's a bunch of adults that you could talk to eventually to get to someone who knew what was going on.
You could make an inference that like they asked around and no one else knew, and then like they're like, okay, maybe this kid.
Yeah, but we don't see that, so we don't know if they just went to Gia first. But it's just like, I don't know. Like I think it's a little strange. They just went to a child and was like, hey, have you seen our friend? And I was like, I hope they're not like, hey, bring us to another location. And so Gia does recognize the description that they give to her. And she tells him that Data was killed by the villagers because they were afraid of him, but he cured their sickness. So Gia tells Dr. C and Riker that they buried the metal in the forest. And then she also asks Data's real name. And they're like, it's Data. And it was cute. Like honestly, Gia is the MVP of this episode. This kid is great. So Dr. C, though, and like, okay, I know she's trying to be sneaky. She takes out a tricorder. And the problem is like, it's big. I don't think they did the worst job of hiding it, but I feel like something that big is kind of like hard to hide or be subtle about. I think like Riker sort of standing looking around while Dr. C had it out to just like kind of cover her. I think that worked, but it just was like kind of funny to see this like machine that's like kind of too big out. So we learned Data is buried 2 meters down, but he's deactivated, and so they're like, okay, we can just like get Data and the radioactive material to the ship. They'll just beam them out so no one will know anything had happened. So then we cut back to the Enterprise, and Data wakes up in sickbay, and the last thing he remembers is attempting to download the sensor logs from the probe's onboard computer. There was a power surge. He believes the surge overloaded his positronic matrix, and after that he has no memory until now. So Data is then informed that he saved a village from radiation poisoning that he caused. No, I'm kidding. They don't say he caused. But, and made friends with a little girl. And Troy's like, well, sorry, gotta go. I got a bridge to supervise. And then Data says, counselor, have you been promoted in my absence? And she goes, that's right, which means from now on, you can call me sir. And then Data goes, yes, sir. And episode ends.
Nice.
Picard only had one line in this entire episode right at the end there.
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
Just in this
the
last
thing
scene.
is like I didn't even notice he wasn't there until he showed up at the end. And I'm like, oh wait, yeah, where the fuck has he been?
Truly not my favorite episode. I like never need to see this episode again.
Yeah.
What? Really? I love this episode. I think it's really sweet.
I like this. Yeah, I like this episode. I like, whenever I watch through TNG, I do watch this episode again. But it's not, like, super special or anything like that.
I think because it, like, honestly gave me, anxiety watching it. Because, like, every time someone opened or, like, touched the metal, I was like, oh, no. Put it away. Put it away. And Data, like, unintentionally, but, like, fully just like, hey, everyone, free for all with this radioactive material. I don't know. That kind of, like, stressed me out. I don't think it was a bad episode, but I think it's, like, like, I'm good. I think Gia was great. I like that her and her dad were, like nice allies. And honestly, and this kid, like, honestly, Gia, the actress was great. The writing for her was good because she wasn't like, they had her be helpful, and she was like not scared of Data and wanted to, and like believed in him. And even like at the end when she's telling Dr. C and Riker, she's like, Data was killed by the villagers because they were afraid of him. And that's like such a sad, I mean, that obviously happens in real life, but like it is like a really sad sentiment at the same time.
Can you tell what the episode is very clearly inspired by?
I mean, at this point, there's a lot of things it can be inspired by.
Yeah.
Frankenstein.
Oh, okay. Frankenstein was not what I was thinking of.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, yeah, Data is Frankenstein's monster essentially.
Oh,
I
okay.
guess.
I wouldn't have thought of
I don't
that.
think Frankenstein was doing all that.
Frankenstein's doing
Well, no,
his...
it's kind of a combination of the monster and Dr. Frankenstein
I
himself,
see.
but like it's the pitch was actually what if Data were Frankenstein's monster, and they kind of went with it from there in terms of how they were writing it, and I don't know, they seemed pretty into writing this episode. It's very clear that it's an episode written like from people who really like writing Data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is Dr. Frankenstein's monster. Like, as in one word, like, his full name is Frankenstein's monster, and he's
Yes.
a doctor.
Yes, precisely. I like that.
Okay, that's an interesting take. I honestly never would have occurred to me that was what they were going for this, but I get it. I can see it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I can see it.
Yeah, it's not as blatant as I'm sure the original pitch was, but it's very clearly still there. And it's what it comes down to is I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. Like taking Data and putting him in a fish out of water situation by removing his memory, but still having him behave intrinsically like Data around people who would naturally fear him. That's something that the episode hasn't really, or sorry, the episode, that's something that the series hasn't really explored at this point. Like, Data has come into contact with lots of different races, and the ship has come into contact with lots of different races, but all the ones that don't know anything about, like, the future and whatnot, like advanced technology and such, they haven't really come into contact with Data in the same way. Like we had Who Watches the Watchers, I don't know, like 2 seasons ago or something like that.
Yeah,
And that one was like they could have put Data in that situation, but they didn't. They put Picard in it instead. They had Picard be the Messiah for everyone there. And I mean, there are plenty of episodes like that where there's even a first contact situation with Data and that other weird little girl in like the 2nd season or something like that. But not a very good episode, but it's there. And like that's another situation where like there's no reaction from a general populace to Data in terms of like a storytelling perspective. So it's interesting it took them 7 seasons to get to that.
Yeah, especially since how much they love telling Data stories.
Exactly, yeah. Even in the time travel story, like Data goes back to, the 1800s and you still don't get that whole thing of Data's the weird alien and whatnot. They just do a couple of like silly jokes about it here and there, and have creepy Mark Twain hiding in a closet watching him. Ooh,
It's interesting. I was just thinking about it, and I had forgotten about the episode with the little girl from season 2, but I do remember you were talking about, because I remember an image of like fire and shit outside of a window.
That's
or, like,
right. Yeah,
lava.
yeah, because her planet was burning basically.
And it's interesting because now after this episode, there are 3 episodes where Data is like vibes with kids in a good way. In a good way.
Yeah.
Affectionate.
Well, a lot of that, I think, is because of the way that Data is written, because he's written to be much more like childlike than a regular person is in terms of his like lack of understanding of like himself and the people that he's around all of the time, and so it's natural that a character like that would react really well with children because they have the same kind of like natural curiosity about the world that Data does, and in the same kind of like almost innocent way that in Data's place is usually played off as being like sweet and cute.
Yeah, and I think it's also because Data deals with everyone on an equal level.
Yes.
He's never dismissive of a kid just because they are a kid. He like, and I think like obviously children respond to that because they're not being just like, I mean they're people, right? Like they don't like being dismissed.
Yeah.
And like Data doesn't like. He just answers. He has no problem answering questions. Kids have a lot of questions. He never lies to them. I think maybe there's been a couple occasions where he's like lied in order to like in a situation of like, oh, I don't want to tell you that your life is in danger or some shit like that, like to keep you calm. But like, yeah, like I think like not only his childlike sort of like demeanor and curiosity, but I think it's because he treats children with like respect. He doesn't dismiss them.
Yep, definitely.
I love that for Data and for us.
Yeah.
A bit of background, actually. The episode was inspired, at least in part, by a real world incident that happened in somewhere in South America near Brazil. There's a city called forgive me if I'm butchering the name. I think it's Goiânia. It's the capital of a small country in South America, and there was a radioactive material from an abandoned hospital that was there, and it got sold to like a scrap dealer or something like that, and ended up making its way around some of the parts of the city, and suddenly there was like this mysterious like illness that was going around the city, and everyone's like, oh my god, what's going on? And so like same kind of situation of radiation affecting like an unsuspecting population.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's happened like throughout history too, like before we
absolutely. Like the instance that I'm talking about was in the 80s, so I mean we knew what radiation was by that point. But like I can't imagine how many times radiation played a factor in somebody's death in the past, and they just didn't know because we didn't know that metal could kill us like that.
Yeah, it's not a very like obvious thing, and that actually reminds me of a thing I saw on TikTok. I think there's like a specific name for it, but I can't remember. But there is actually like a thing with nuclear science where they're constantly trying to come up with how to make like warnings and stuff on like where like nuclear waste is like kept and things like that, and they think about it up to like in 10,000 years, what can we put here that people will still understand this is dangerous and do not go here, do not mess with this shit, right? And I saw this TikTok of this woman like explaining this and like some of the potential solutions and stuff they've come up with, and some of them are like really dumb. Like they're like, oh yeah, we want like a very clear and concise way for people way in the future to understand this is dangerous. And I wish I could remember like what the warning was, but it was so fucking cryptic, and I'm like, that's your solution? Like that's like, what the fuck? And like as she was explaining this and like giving more examples, I'm like, oh, I'm understanding a lot more about ancient curses.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That it's like, okay, a lot of these like weird cryptic shit things, it's like, oh, maybe there's like something like that we are not supposed to mess with, and they are just like giving a warning. And then like one person in the comments is like, oh, like one of the solutions that's worked really well like throughout history is just making the area you don't want people to mess with smell bad.
Yes.
Because that's like,
I've heard about that one.
Yeah, that's honestly like just a very good deterrent, is just make it smell bad.
Yep.
Ooh.
But how do you make it smell bad for like 10,000 years?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not gonna, honestly, probably won't stop me. I have like almost no sense of smell.
Yeah.
So that
but I don't see you as the type of person that would see like an ancient warning and be like, you know what, I'm gonna open this anyway.
Yeah,
I think that's the main problem.
Yeah, I'm not a superstitious person, but I do think if there's like enough warnings for things, I'll be like, okay, I feel like I can leave this alone.
Yeah,
I don't feel the need to fuck around with stuff.
Yeah, like, I'm not superstitious, and I don't believe in, like, ghosts and demons and shit like that, but if something looks haunted, I'm not fucking with it. I'm like, just in case.
Yeah, like, do you remember a couple years ago, there was that, like, huge black, like, sarcophagus or something?
Yeah,
and people are like,
yeah.
what if we opened it? And I'm like, the giant black sarcophagus that literally looks like a curse is brewing in it?
Yeah.
Like, that just seems like the dumbest idea. Keep that shit closed, man. Like,
Yeah.
that just seems dumb. Haven't we
Also,
played with
we
fire
have, like,
enough?
x-rays and shit, so, like, don't, like,
Yeah.
don't open that.
Yeah.
There's this show that, me and another friend of ours watch. It was from, like, the 2000s. It was called Paranormal Witness. And it was, like, real people, like, telling their stories that of, like, something paranormal happening to them, right? And one of the stories was this couple had, like, purchased this space to, like, start a restaurant. And they were doing renovations, and they were opening up, they put a hole in the drywall in one of the walls. And there was a statue of the Virgin Mary behind the wall.
Oh my god.
And they moved it. They kept it on, like, the counter or whatever. I'm like, bitch, like I said, I do not believe in ghosts or hauntings, but if I find a fucking statue of Mary behind the wall, I am leaving it there. I am patching that hole and forgetting it exists.
Truly. Oh my god. Yeah, I feel like we just gotta let, like, haunted stuff, like, leave things alone.
Yeah.
It's just like, I feel like haunted places, like, I know people like going to, like, is it Stanley Hotel? The haunted
so,
one
yeah.
that
Yeah.
was the inspiration for The Shining. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I don't want to go somewhere where it's like, oh, threaten me with a ghost? No thanks.
Yeah.
I went to the Queen Mary when I was a kid, and I have nightmares. Like, not to stay there. We literally went on a tour, and I can't describe how much that one tour like, truly traumatized me. And that is also, like, from my understanding, a, like, haunted place. I don't know why my parents were like, yeah, let's go to Long Beach. We're not going to see anything else there. Let's just go to the Queen Mary and do this fucking horrifying haunted tour, which I legit thought we were gonna die during the tour.
Yeah. And here's the thing, I
horrible.
love, like, I'm a scary movie person. Like, I love horror movies. And, like, ghost movies and like, those are some of my favorites. But I still would not go to an actual haunted place.
Yeah.
I'm like, no thanks.
I like a haunted tour in the sense of, like, going to the outside of places and be like, this
Yeah,
place is
yeah.
haunted for this. But I'm like, I don't need to go inside. I don't
Yeah.
I don't need to, I don't need to know what's going on inside. I'm minding my own business outside. I'll learn about it, but I don't need to go in. I'm okay.
Like a nice walking tour where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, something spooky happened here, and then you move on.
Yeah.
Like,
Because, yeah, truly, I do love, like, the ghost tour. Like, I did one in London a few. Oh my god, it's been 6 years. It's disgusting. And that one was on, like, a double-decker old, like, black bus. And that was
Yeah.
an incredible tour. But it's truly, like, London is just, like, haunted so much in
Yeah.
general. You can basically, like, this is where someone was somethinged at some point.
I mean, everything is just so much older in London. Like, all the
Yeah.
buildings and shit. So, like, there's just so much history that, like, eventually something happened there.
Yeah.
Just statistically.
Yeah.
Dory, to be fair, you and I went and explored a jail once.
But that was under specific things. It was daytime
Yeah.
also. But we weren't staying there. We were in there for what, 15 minutes?
We were there for like an hour or
We
something.
were there
like that.
for
It was
an
a tour.
hour? No, it was for
Yeah.
doors. It was for doors open.
Yeah, it was more than 15 minutes. They took us on a tour of the place.
I didn't go on a tour. I do remember us looking in that
Yeah,
terrifying
but it's in, like,
room.
broad daylight, you know?
Yeah, and a lot of people were there, and we were just, like, kind of in and out. We weren't hanging around there for hours upon hours. We weren't staying in the jail.
All right.
But yeah, but I also afterwards it was fun, but at the same time I was like, that place felt bad.
Yeah.
I didn't
just
necessarily regret
bad
going,
juju.
but, like, because there was a room where like Jeff, do you remember there was like this room that just like looked like it had like a big, not a hole in it, but like the person pointed out that there's like, oh, did you see those marks on the wall? That's where the platform used to be, where we would do indoor executions. And I was like,
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that's just bad vibes all around.
Yeah, and
like,
she's like,
yeah, I was
that's
gonna
the
say, like,
staircase that would bring the bodies up. And I was like, I'm having
Dory,
regrets.
I'm very surprised about your memory of this place
Yeah.
being as weak as it is.
My memory is horrible, but I'm remembering this place to like a certain extent because I was really
'cause it
excited to
disturbed
go.
you.
I was
Okay,
excited to
so-
go. I was psyched. I remember we took a super long walk to get there, and I
Yeah,
was
I
so
know.
excited to go in. And then I was like, oh, this is actually a lot spookier than I anticipated.
So, Dory, for the record, the place where, oh my God, they might have actually done executions here. That was literally gallows. Like you could see because you were on the second floor, and then there's just no floor.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have put two and two together. I didn't know anything about it.
Fair enough.
I would not have known. It was only when the lady was like those marks on the wall where the platform was, and then I was like, yeah, because without that platform, just a big empty room. I don't know enough about jails to know what this room would have been had she
Yeah.
not pointed it out. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to put the two and two together. I truly would have had no idea this was like a gallows room.
Yeah. And if any of our like 6 listeners aren't from Toronto, do they do it every year? Do they do Doors Open every year?
Yeah,
Yes, they
every
do.
May at the end
Yeah.
of May.
Yeah, so they do this thing called Doors Open, where they basically like give tours and access to places that are usually off limits to the public. It's really cool. So
Yeah.
so that's what Jeff
So
and
yeah,
Dory are talking
we
about.
went to
They're
the
like-
Dawn Jail.
Yeah.
It's like a pretty interesting looking building from the outside. It's now part of Bridgepoint Hospital, which like kind of not funny, but like not funny, haha, but like oh, it's not part of a hospital, not related to
Yeah.
the jail part. But yeah, it was like very exciting to go initially, and then I was like, this
Oh,
actually,
this is-
I may have made an error on how excited I was to go here, and I may have erred.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot spookier than I anticipated.
Yeah, because I totally get that too. Because you're like, oh, this is like really interesting and cool, and then you get there and you're faced with the reality of like, oh, this is a prison.
Yeah,
this
'cause,
is like a lot of bad things happened here.
Yeah, because also like you can see the cells and they're really tiny, and it's just a lot more. Yeah, is it like it's different when you're seeing stuff in pictures compared to seeing in real life? I feel like in pictures you can kind of like disassociate to a certain extent of like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, cool. Also, you have no sense of scale, but then seeing it, I will say like the atrium, that like middle section, where it's just sort of like got all these like walkways above and it's all open in the middle. That's actually really pretty. And I remember like we went underneath it, and because
Yep.
there's like this floor, it's not like you can completely see through it, but you can sort of see like outline or just sort of darkness of people's like shadows of people, or not shadow, just like like of people's footprints walking around above you. So yes, it was an interesting place. I just did not anticipate it being as kind of like affecting as it ended up being.
Yeah.
So I don't regret going, because it's still it's like part of a big part of Toronto history,
Yeah.
and it's not something you go to have access to every day, just once a year.
And
But-
honestly,
But it just was like way more affecting than I had anticipated.
yeah. And honestly, like I think it's a good thing to have that experience to like remind ourselves of like what like face like not only like face like the reality of history, but like in this specific circumstance, like face the reality of like what a jail or a prison actually is. And like maybe we shouldn't do that. Yeah, maybe we should find a different form of justice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I realize we've gotten like way off track.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Is there anything
I
else
do.
about the episode? Okay.
Yes, yes. I want to talk more about this Troy test thing. Because
Oh
like
yeah, that's important.
because like I love this development for Troy, but I hate how it was just like 1, 2, 3 done in this one episode. I
Yeah.
wish she brought it like this was brought up earlier that she was interested in this. And then like maybe this was something over this like course of a few episodes of her working for it, because it really just feels like she's like, I decided I want to do the test, and then
Yeah.
Riker's like, great, we're doing it tomorrow. And now how many days was this? Like 2 days? 3 days?
Yeah, in
I don't
some
know how long
fairness,
this
that
was.
just is how TV worked in that era. That it's like they didn't really
Yeah.
do things that like built up over multiple episodes and stuff, because like if like there was no, if you missed an episode, you missed an episode. You had to wait till it was on reruns, right? So like if you missed an episode and like they have this like multiple episode arc happening, you're like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Well, then does Troy being a commander now come up later?
I don't remember.
Because otherwise, like if people don't see this episode and they go to the next episode, would anyone know she's a commander?
I mean, they probably kept like the pips.
Yeah, they do that.
consistent.
But assuming like some people don't necessarily like know the pips.
Yeah.
So just like a more, well, not, I don't want to say casual viewer, but yeah,
Yeah.
I just like it, in an ideal world where that
Yes.
wasn't the situation in the 90s, I would have loved this to go on for a couple episodes of her sort of preparing herself. And then this way, when she got it, because it all just felt so fast, and it really
Yeah,
just came
no,
down to her
like-
being like, well, I gotta like sacrifice the moral of this is sacrifice someone for the ship. And I'm like,
Yeah. And like ultimately, I do agree. I overall agree with your point.
yeah, it just felt very rushed, and something that
Yeah.
is like
And-
kind of a significant and important thing for her career and her life even. And it just felt
Yeah.
like if anything, this should have been like not this episode. This should have deserved like its own A plot,
Yeah.
and we could have focused on
es-
it more.
Yeah, especially because the solution to the test is such a big deal. Like that's a very intense thing to have to realize you have to do, ordering someone to their death. Like that's a very big revelation and a big emotional kind of thing. So like yeah, it really should have been its own thing. Like it like had like the full attention of the episode. Where although I do feel like this episode is kind of I mean, the Data stuff is definitely the A plot, but I think it's like A1 and A2 kind of deal. It's like a B and a half plot, because it's I feel like they spend more time and it's more significant than like a typical B plot would be, but it's still not the main focus of the episode. Yeah. I also like I think it's a good idea. Like I like that conclusion to the oh yeah, like as a commander or like as a person in charge, like you may have to order someone into a dangerous situation, or a situation where it's like in order to save everybody, this person is going to have to sacrifice themselves, you know. But we've never seen anyone do this ever in this
Yeah.
show. Like, no person has ordered someone to their death in this show, ever. So this is,
Yeah.
like, to have this be such an important part of the test is, like, kind of odd to me.
So
Oh, okay. Well, technically, well, not necessarily ordered. It just ended up, because I think of a few episodes ago. Oh no, last episode.
So, Jeff, what are you trying to say?
Crusher's husband,
Was he sent off
he
to
was
die?
ordered to his death by Picard, and he knew that.
but I don't...
Yes.
Did he know that?
And he feels awful about it.
Because I always thought that it's like he ordered him into a dangerous situation, but it wasn't like you're going to die guaranteed.
Okay, that might have been it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I kind of assumed also.
All right. Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, either way, that like that's like that's kind of a background detail also. Like, that's not a major plot point in an episode.
No, that's true. That's true. It isn't, but it is. It makes a lot of sense for it to be something that, like, yeah, you have to be willing to do that if you're in command.
Oh, yes. No,
Oh,
I
for
totally
sure.
agree. I totally
Yeah.
agree. It makes sense. It's just like there have been situations throughout this series where that would have been a good like solution, and they've never done it.
Yeah.
Like they've like I agree with the concept. I agree that like yeah, like that's a thing you might have to do. But the show has never made that a point.
Because I think, I mean, now that I'm also thinking about it more, I feel like that's truly like I mean, obviously the worst case scenario. But honestly, I all I kept thinking about is like the casualness of like Troy being like, Jordy,
Yeah.
get on out there and die of
Yeah.
radiation poisoning. Like,
Yeah,
obviously she doesn't say that, but it's just like
yeah.
I get it. I get it. And like, obviously not real. And it's
Yeah.
it truly does seem like, because also it's very easy to sort of do that in the simulation.
Yeah.
But like to be able to do it in real life
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
because by the end of this, honestly, after Troy passed, the way that she reacted to it, I kind of thought she was going to be like, yeah, I don't really want it anymore.
Yeah.
Because she seemed really disheartened by the solution, that it's like, well, I have to like order someone to sacrifice themselves to save the trip, like to save the ship. Like, I don't know that I have it in me to do that and like as a possibility in real life. But she was like, call me sir.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I guess she
Yeah,
recovered
she
from
did-
that real easy, because she looked
Yeah, she
really
did seem
bummed
a
and
little too
upset
chipper
at the
about
end.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she like you said, she did seem a little too chipper after this like whole like this whole really big deal. But to be fair, I guess we don't know how much time passed like between then and when they were in sickbay. So like maybe
Yeah.
she had time to process, but
A proper timeline of this episode would have been helpful.
yeah. I remember
Yeah,
something
the
that
episode is really inconsistent about its own timeline because it kind of implies that Data was only gone a couple of days.
yeah. I remember something that used to really bother me about this episode, and I realize now that it was probably like maybe like could possibly have been fueled by like internalized misogyny, but it really used to bother me that it's like I can't believe the show made Troy a full commander before Data. Like that used to really
Oh
make me
my
mad.
god. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, like Data's still lieutenant commander, and like Troy just gets to take the test. I get like, what does Data have to do? Like,
Data has to take the test, but he never desired to. He doesn't desire command.
but like I don't believe that because Data has shown desire to
So-
move up in ranks before. Like,
Wait. Here's the thing. Data is a bridge officer already. I just
Yeah.
realized that because he's in the chain of command.
yeah,
So that means
Yeah,
he's
he's-
already
he's the
done
second.
this.
yeah, he's the second officer.
Yeah, that means he's already done this. But maybe getting bridge officer comes with a promotion that Data's already had. So the promotion doesn't bring him up to commander.
Oh yeah, could be, but like, okay, like. I mean, I'm sure like the writers didn't think of this, but I'm thinking of like, well, then how did Troy become a lieutenant commander, like, without qualifying to be on the bridge?
Yeah.
Like, because she's in the chain of command too, like just way down there.
No,
'Cause
she
she- like,
wouldn't
there
be
was
in
that
the
one
chain
ep-
of command.
Well,
So
there
the
was
only-
that one episode where they get stuck on the bridge and she's the most senior officer.
Yes, but there aren't any
yeah, but-
other bridge officers in that scene. Like, I think the other people in that in that entire section are Ensign Rowe, who is
Yeah.
an ensign, and
But isn't an ensign part of the officer like line.
Well,
of
everyone on the
things.
ship is at this point part of the officer line. They haven't established non-commissioned officers yet, but yeah. So Ensign Rowe, like Ensign, is the first rank that you get right out of the academy. There's no way she's a
Yeah.
bridge officer.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, but they put ensigns at like at the helm.
yeah, I
on
know
the
that,
bridge.
but they're not in command, and they're not the like they can't be in command. They can just operate the helm. That said, Data is actually third in command of the ship.
Yeah. I just feel like Data, if he'd had the I guess it is the bridge officer's test. It's not the commander's test.
That's right.
So then was Troy an off? She had what was her
She
like
was
rank
lieutenant
then?
commander.
She was lieutenant commander also.
Yeah. Because there was that
Okay.
one, like I was mentioning before, there's that one previous episode where she gets stuck on the bridge.
No, I remember
Like-
that. I feel like we had, but I don't remember didn't remember if she had a rank. I just remember she was like
Yeah.
the most senior in terms of because she's there the longest or something. That's what I think I
Yeah.
maybe
No,
assumed.
She's very rarely referred to by rank.
Yeah, they do mention
but it is there.
They do say in that episode that she is a lieutenant commander.
Okay. I don't think I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a small detail, so.
Okay. Because then for a second I was like, okay, so then like I didn't remember she had a rank. So then I started to just think like, can anyone just decide to do the test? It doesn't
No.
matter what your rank is. But okay,
No.
she's lieutenant commander. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I'm assuming you have to reach a certain rank before you're even allowed to take the test.
That would make sense. I would
Yeah.
hope so.
I wonder if Data was a lieutenant and his test got him to the
Lieutenant commander.
lieutenant commander.
Could be. Yeah.
So a fun bit of factage here. I decided to look up why the bridge officer's test got Troy a promotion, and there are two answers to it. One of them is actually like an answer that just somebody came up with, like they logicked it. And what they said, I'm going to quote them verbatim, is, in short, taking the bridge officer's test doesn't confer instant rank. That's still the gift of the captain with the approval of Starfleet Command. Troy, who already holds the rank of lieutenant commander because of her medical qualifications, is able to become an officer of the deck, OOD, I guess that's just short for officer of the deck, as a result of her taking the test, and is then given an enhanced rank as a recognition of her enhanced responsibilities and long service. So it seems that Troy has been told that what's blocking her from a rank promotion is that she isn't qualified to be an officer of the deck. So that's this person's reasoning as to why she gets her promotion. Now,
That makes sense.
Jerry Taylor has her own explanation of this, and Jerry Taylor was one of the writers of the episode, so there we are. I thought the episode was really strong, but we've taken some criticism from people who said, how could you promote Troy over Data and Geordi? But it wouldn't have been a very interesting story to see Data or Geordi get their rank. The obstacles she had to overcome were formidable. You get an interesting drama out of the conflict. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And like,
I
yeah,
mean-
I definitely agree with that. Watching Data or Geordi go through this same problem probably would not have been as interesting as watching Troy going through it.
Yeah, for sure. And I would not expect the writer to think in terms of like, oh, what makes sense in terms of like the internal like military logic.
Yeah.
Because their goal is to tell an interesting story.
That's right.
Not to like be perfectly logical about how things work.
That's right. Also, in the
Yeah.
end, like, Star Trek's military stuff has played fast and loose with, actual military
Yeah.
stuff. So, yeah. I mean, look, in the Enterprise, there's, like, what, 4 or 5 ranks in total?
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, it's still like, to me, it seems, I'm not sure what word to use, because I don't want to say silly, but it's like, it doesn't, although life doesn't operate this way either. It just seems like Troy having very, very limited experience, like, of actually being, like, I mean, I know she like sits next to Picard on the bridge and stuff, but like very little experience like actually being a day-to-day officer,
Yeah.
a bridge officer, that she has a higher rank than Data, who is an everyday bridge officer and the second officer of the ship. Like he is next in line after
Yeah.
Riker. Yeah, so that's why it feels off. But like
She has a longer career than Data, I believe.
yeah, true, but not with the type of responsibilities like you need for command.
Well, no, but that
I guess,
doesn't
yeah.
necessarily matter.
Yeah, that's true because there are like because on like different because there are like purely scientific and like purely medical vessels where it's like
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah, in fact, we'll get to see one of those later on in the season, but I won't go into any details about
Yeah.
that. That's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like there's lots of instances of Troy doing things that are actually like they show that she has like expertise in like this and that and this and that, and yet like that's the thing about the characters on Star Trek is that even though it's not like internally consistent in terms of its logic of all of their like military happenings and whatnot, it's a very what do you call it? It's a very lightly defined military, if you even want to call it that.
Yeah.
It's basically a military structure that's been borrowed for like a command control and scientific investigation organization. It's very weird.
Yeah.
But like in terms of Troy having done enough things that deserve her the rank, then I would say that's reasonable. And also, there's already been discussions about Data and how Starfleet Command is and other people are iffy about him having command level positions.
That's true.
Specifically because they're like, well, we don't know if we can trust your humanity to be in, to give us that to give us like what we believe is necessary for that sort of thing. Like even the episode with the Romulan episode a while back. I think that was in Unification, actually, where they put Data in command.
Yeah.
And another officer is openly defiant against him.
Yeah, and that's like that episode is the reason why I say like that to me is the evidence that Data does have ambitions to move up in rank. So
Well, no,
like,
he's in that position because Picard told him to.
no,
that was
no,
Picard's choice.
No, Data asks to be put in command.
Oh, did
Data,
he?
yeah, Data
Oh,
goes
yeah,
to
okay,
Picard's
you're right,
office
you're
and
right.
says, "Hey, I noticed that I have not received a command, and I would like one." So Picard gives him a command after Data asks for it.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, okay, good point. That said, I mean, I think that that guy's explanation that I read as to like why Troy gets to the rank before Data does, I think that's a decent explanation of it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That's a good way to sort of like retroactively like explain it.
Yeah, and I mean they also all have a career before the Enterprise,
Yeah.
so there's that too.
Yeah, and like I said, I think my like I'm not mad at it now. I think my previous anger was like a bit of internalized misogyny
That's
in
fine.
terms of like, not taking Deanna's character very seriously. And I actually really what I do like about this, like specifically, is that they are treating her character more seriously, like as a member of the crew.
Yes.
Like giving her more
Yeah.
respect and like being like, hey, like yeah, her day job is like, therapist and stuff, but like she is a Starfleet officer. Like, you can't dismiss her in that way.
You know what I think another thing might have been going through their heads on this? Because the thing about TNG is that it does, it spends very little time trying to live off of the legacy of the rest of Star Trek. TNG very much tries to be its own thing and tries to be very separate from that, and it does a very good job of that. But
Yeah.
I think that in the process, they made a lot of choices where they were trying to avoid what they considered not necessarily mistakes, but things that became part of like the ethos of the original Star Trek series and the films that followed them. And one of the things that it becomes a little confusing in the films that follow them is the fact that by the time that you reach the final films, just about everyone has a really fucking high rank. Like, I think everyone is a commander at the lowest by that point.
Yeah.
And so I know in multiple films, both Spock and Kirk are captain, even though Kirk is the one who's in command. And Spock is continuously referred to as Captain Spock despite never having a command.
Yeah. Yeah, that is weird. And I do... Yeah, I do like that they did, when they started TNG, they made a deliberate choice to be like, we don't want to get trapped into we don't want to be in a original series trap. We want to establish ourselves as our own thing, which I thought was a good move.
Yes, I agree.
And yeah, and that's what when you're mentioning the thing about like how everyone's like a super high rank or whatever, that's also, and you knew it was going to come at some point. That's also what I appreciate about Deep Space Nine, is that there is a very, the ensemble is a wide variety of people at different levels of authority, and a mix of civilians.
Yes. Yeah.
So we get to see things from a lot of different perspectives.
Yeah, I do appreciate that a lot. But that said, I mean, like, TNG, it made sense for them to do things the way that they did. But, like, introducing a character like Troy in the first place was supposed to be breaking the mold. Because as much as the original series is, like, you know, cowboys in space and whatnot, it is still a military organization. It's just not, like, strictly adherent to a lot of military stuff.
Yeah, it's still very military inspired. And like especially in like the 80s, saying like, hey, a therapist is important enough to be on the bridge is like pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think even what's his nut, who was show running season 2, talked about how like he thought it was nuts that Troy was allowed to sit on the bridge. Then again, he was an asshole, so whatever.
Yeah. and they even like they still had to put the caveat of like, oh, she has this magical power that makes her like quote unquote more useful.
Yes, very true.
Like her empathic abilities. But still, yeah, because this has come up in a previous episode before, but like the way Star Trek, at least like classic Trek, or I don't know, what would you call that era of like original series to Enterprise, that like sort of original I guess classic Trek. Anyway, the way like the Star Trek has operated in the past is that, you know, they show you what their ideal world would look like. They don't like use a setting of like, you know, here's the world with our problems and here's how we deal with them and here's how the world could be better. They're like, no, we're going to show you the world that we want, right? We're going to show you what that looks like instead of telling you what that looks like. You know, because oftentimes it's like, you know, you have episodes or movies or whatever about like, oh, we should all have equal rights and stuff like that. And the story is about how we need equal rights. But Star Trek is more as like, no, we're going to show you what the world looks like when we have equal rights.
Yes.
And you're going to see that it's actually not as scary as you think. Mm-hmm. We're going to show you what that looks like, and you're going to be like, oh, yeah, you know what, I see the vision, and I actually, this isn't what I thought. You know? Because like, when you have these arguments with people, like, a lot of them, they can't picture what you mean. Right? Or they have their own idea of what you're proposing is going to look like. Mm-hmm. And when you can show people of like, no, in concrete terms, like, oh, this is what I'm picturing this looking like. And then people are more likely to be like, oh yeah, that's actually, you know what? I agree. That's actually not what I thought you meant.
Yep. Yep. But I mean, in the end, it's hard to define this era of Star Trek because it consistently goes through changes as you go from like
Yeah.
series to series, and I mean, I
'Cause
suppose
there's
that's
also,
probably
like-
a good thing.
I guess it is also technically at least two eras, because the original series is its own thing. Then we have this big gap, and then we have the cluster of TNG, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. And then a big gap, and now New Trek.
I would argue that the films, the original series films, are also their own era
Yeah.
because like they set a tone that is actually quite different from the original series.
Yeah, that's true. I'll be honest, I always forget about the films. Like, I don't forget that they exist or whatever, like, but in terms of, like, considering the eras of Trek, I always forget to include, like, where the films fit in there.
Well, they
And
do
you're-
overlap.
you're correct.
They do overlap with TNG for a little bit, so there is that.
Yeah.
But they still had very different like productions behind them, so they do maintain that very different feel to it. Dory, are you bored by us right now?
I'm
Dory?
not bored. I'm here. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. Sorry. So what most people I find that I come across refer to it as like the Berman era Trek because it's all produced by Rick Berman, for better or worse.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I do think it's fair now to, unless anyone has anything else to say, maybe we should move on to the next
Yeah,
section.
that's probably a good idea.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, I think we've meandered a bit, so now I think it's fair to move on to favorite moments and lines of this episode.
What did I like from this? I don't know. I liked that first scene with Troy and Riker when he's playing the bone. I like Dr. C and Troy having a chat. I thought Garvin was nice and Gia was great.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of it.
So my favorite moment of the episode is when I forget her name, the scientist lady, when she's going off about like how like, oh, my grandmother would have called him a ghost or a demon, but we're way beyond that now with like our hard science. You're an Iceman.
That is super fucking
yeah, that
amusing
was my
the way they
favorite
do that.
bit of the episode. I kind of sorry, I was just gonna say like, yeah, that's kind of like the most standout to me. I overall like the episode, but nothing like else really jumped out at me.
Really? Not even rock, fire, sky, and water. Fucking magnets. How do they work? So for me, it's actually the scene where Troy realizes what the solution to going and solving
yeah.
the test was. I really like that moment of tough love from Riker because at first I'm just like, oh man, Riker, you're kind of being a dick, but then he like explains that his reasoning is like, well, no, like my priority is that the people under my command are under the command of somebody who is qualified to do this, and
Yeah.
if you're not qualified, that sucks, and I'm sorry, but you need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And like, it's shit to hear, but it's also exactly what Troy needed to hear. And I'm pretty sure Riker is supposed to know that. He kind of
Yeah.
plays off that
like
he didn't.
gave
He
her
was
a
like,
hint.
yeah, but he plays it off as if like, oh, I was just like, I was just telling you the truth, being honest about it. But no, I think it's a bit more than that.
Mm-hmm. A little bit more on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dory. So, predictions for the next episode. The next episode is called Masks. And this is I would say it's like a Data and Picard episode.
Yes.
So your tidbit is, and it's based off of, I'm going to use some of the things in the IMDb description because I can't use the Netflix description anymore because they took it off Netflix.
Its memory be a blessing.
Yeah, precisely. So your tidbit is that the ship is investigating a comet that's been traveling through the universe for 87 million years. And Picard discovers an alien being within the comet, which infests the computer system and Data. So what I'm looking for is, what do you think this like sort of ancient alien does to Data and the ship?
I mean, based on everything that's ever happened in this show, they're gonna want to take over Data. They're gonna want to take over the ship. They're gonna the ship's ours now. And this is where we live. And Data is like super strong and knows the ship and stuff. So he's like honestly if they're gonna like take over one person on the ship, honestly Data is kind of an excellent option. So yeah, I think they want to take over. They want the ship. They want
for what ends? Like what do you think they want it for?
vibes.
Vibes. They're just like, we live here.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? I feel like the Enterprise has good vibes. Let's just hang out. No,
Yeah.
I think like this is like their new home. Maybe this was asteroid you said, or comet or something? Comet. Maybe it's like running out of fuel. It's like not a sustainable place to live anymore. And again, based on other things, maybe there's like babies in there too, and they're like, we need a safe place for the babies. And constantly so many entities have tried to like raise children within the Enterprise in some capacity. So I'm assuming this is one of those.
Okay. So like, we need a new nest. And
yes.
We're going to take over the Enterprise. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, if you want to see if Dory's correct, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.